Here, and I'd like to acknowledge Professor Dr. Sadrul Amin, Professor from the Department of English at the University of Dhaka, and of course Dr. Mohammed Ashaduzaman. And I cannot say Bangla words very well, so it sounded so easy when you said that, but I hope I pronounced that okay. So respected panelists, it's great to see so many of you here today to talk about language and national identity, and of course all of the guests here present today. So I think that this is a really interesting topic because language is clearly at the heart of the Bangladeshi identity. Bangladesh possibly would not exist as a country without this identity and what it actually drove you as a common goal for everybody in the country, regardless of their background, regardless of their socioeconomic status. Men and women, Indigenous people, Hindus, Muslims, all joined together around this one collective identity. So this event is a good opportunity to explore the critical role of language in shaping this national identity. I just wanted to mention a little bit about also a global part of that the language movement and the mother language education movement ended up, including Mother Language Day, International Mother Language Day, has ended up with the UN recognising the International Decade of Indigenous Languages. So this has become a really global effort to look at language and language diversity and language preservation. And Bangladeshi is your indigenous language, or it is your cultural language, but also I think the point I'd like to make about national identity is it is not homogenous, as we just heard with the first speaker. You're a Bangladeshi, but you have another identity as well. So there are many different facets to identity, and national identity is a composite of all of the different people and their backgrounds in the country. The International Decade of Indigenous Languages is about preserving and revitalising language, particularly protecting those languages that are endangered, supporting and strengthening the use of language, and a particular element here is within the education system. And I think it's great that IMLI exists within the Ministry of Education, and it shows the direct connection between language and education by its very existence. It's also about human rights. It's your right as Bangladeshis to speak and have your language, regardless of, it is your right, and it is a right that should never be taken away from you. Whatever your language is, that right should remain. And the other part of the decade, which I think is really important for us to think about today, it's about creating intercultural dialogue. It's not about separating your language off and just keeping your language. How do you actually share your values? Because language is attached to many things. Identity, values, these are all fundamental to what you have. So the language movement was about all of these things, and it stands as a testament to that link between language and identity, but also with values, and the fact that you're not alone in the world, and as Bangladeshis, you need to connect with other people to show that what your values are, but even within the country, you need to share that with other people. And I think particularly at a time when Bangladesh is under the international spotlight for being repressive, whether it's right or wrong, the media in India is really big on this, and there's a lot of misinformation here. But the world is looking at Bangladesh at the moment and wondering, it's really important in creating this intercultural dialogue that shows that you are listening to each other, you are talking to each other, and that this is not just about one group dominating the others. So at UNESCO, we really recognise that there is a transformative power to language, and the power is that it can be used to foster peace, social cohesion, inclusion, tolerance, and sustainable development. So fundamentally, the reason why we recognise International Mother Language Day, the reason why we have the International Decade on Indigenous Languages, is really about those issues: peace, tolerance, social cohesion. And this is what national identity should be about as well. And how do you all connect to each other as Bangladeshis? So Bangladesh has been a global leader in this field by establishing or recommending to the UN to establish International Mother Language Day, by establishing the institute here, which is, it's a Category 2 UNESCO Centre, which gives it a global status as a home to promote protection, preservation and use of all kinds of languages, mother languages in particular. So we have recently had the Summit of the Future in New York. Some of you may have heard of it. And there has been a lot of discussions already started about what happens after the Sustainable Development Goals. So currently, many of you know, we have 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Language isn't really mentioned. Culture is mentioned in passing. But it's been agreed amongst the countries that culture will have a standalone SDG in future. And I think this means that there's also a place for language to be part of the SDGs and to increase that recognition of exactly how important this is to peace and the future of the world. Not just the future of Bangladesh, but I think globally it's that important. So documentation, language preservation and promotion, and these kind of exchanges are important to their work and guiding what they will do in the future. So I really look forward to hearing the speakers, to seeing how that can be integrated into IMLI's work in the future, and wishing you all the best for the day. Donovan.
My dear Ashad and Ferdous Azim, a lot of known faces around. I don't want to name them, but I'm very glad that I'm here today. So let me start my short speech of this inauguration. So respected Chair, Professor Dr. Muhammad Ashaduzaman, Director, International Mother Language Institute, respected special guest, Dr. Susan Weiss. I got to know it's pronounced Weiss. I thought it was Weiss. Susan Weiss, Head of Office, UNESCO Dhaka, revered professors designated for paper presentations and discussions, enthusiastic participants, I see there were enthusiastics, from different universities and institutes, honorable guests, and every individual whose hard work has made this great intellectual event possible. Good morning, and Assalamu alaikum. Respected academics and guests, the theme of today's seminar, Language and National Identity, deals with language and national identity, which are not only inextricably linked, but are also complementary to each other and define the identity of the people concerned. Linguistic identity of the people of the indigenous monoglots of a nation living in the globalized modern world, even though they may become polyglots, is not only the cohesive force which holds them together, but also become the most potent force of the national unity and identity. Besides, the language acquired and learned are not just the vehicle of human communication. They also hold the very fabric of human society together, entailing the most significant marker of national identity of those people who share a common geographical territory and homogeneous cultural identity. Languages are dynamic and are changing constantly. No language can thrive in isolation. It cannot but be true for the indigenous language of any nation as well. Languages are not and have never been the patented property of any particular country or countries. Learning and use of language transcend borders and restrictions. They belong to everyone and are free for all to use. No country can claim to have the exclusive right over any particular language. Although it would be wrong to say that one language is better or more important than another, I think the importance of a language is determined by the importance of the country and the people using it. From the earliest days of human life, many languages have evolved and many have become extinct. Scientific and technological advancement, the amenities of civilized life, military and economic strength, literary output, etc. of a country define the importance of a language. It is quite natural for a nation to have more than one, and in many cases, a great number of languages within its different territories. In such cases, for political, social, and economic reasons, usually one language becomes dominant common language of use for international communication, international communications, and in some cases, international contacts, while the others retain their own uniqueness, prestige, and linguistic and cultural treasures. To come back to the theme of the seminar, we can hardly think of any other country of the world which encompasses the spirit of language and national identity as much as it is the case with Bangladesh. The people of the nation remain uncompromising for their linguistic rights and national identity and made great sacrifices to get a sovereign country, Bangladesh. On November 17, 1999, UNESCO proclaimed February 21st International Mother Language Day to commemorate sacrifice made by the people of Bangladesh in the language movement in 1952. I believe there is no comparable instance in the world where a day like 21st February is observed in Bangladesh with such solemnity, fervor, and zeal. The occasion demonstrates the complete vision of linguistic spirit and national identity. I don't think I need to explain this. All of you have experienced this, all of you.